Video number 14, Justice was not served for Daniel. Hi, it's Kathleen, I'm back. As I stated in my video number 13, I hope you were able to share my videos so other families of a disabled child or loved one in a group home or nursing home can benefit from watching my videos 1 through 14 that will be coming to a closure soon. It was the year 2000. I was now on another journey to find a solution for my son to return back to his 30-year program with UCP of New York City, now named ADAPT, that he never should have had to leave in the first place. I began making phone calls to the New York State Department, who were now very aware that they were also having problems within their own agency because of their previous passing of bad audits in my son's residence that came to light after the investigations I had initiated with the UCP agency. This was no doubt a circus that was going on all around. It was my son and the consumers who were suffering from consequences of some bad apples. My solution was to now find an apartment in Brooklyn and move in with my son, leaving my husband and family back in New Jersey. I had no other options. My son was hurting, and he went through enough trauma in his life. I could not fathom what was ahead. I just needed to move on. I found a one-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn with the help of my friend, and I went right back to a place I had just left to go to New Jersey. The apartment was on the 6th floor in an elevated building, and I signed a 2-year lease to the landlord because he required it, or I would not get the apartment. A lawsuit was also filed by me in 2000 against the UCP, now ADAPT agency in New York City. The State Department was now very open to paying my full rent and furnishing the apartment. They were also allowing the bathroom and doorways to be modified for Daniel to have access with his wheelchair. The state even asked the landlord, the owner of the building, for permission to do so, and he agreed. Although it was not a building that was housed for the disabled, I was very confident that the state paid the owner under the table for that reno conversion to be done. As I stated in video number 13, Executive Director Mr. Untouchable Edward R. Matthews sent me a letter stating how happy he was Daniel was returning back to his program. That was not a slap in my face. It was a major blow to my head that this pompous bastard was now contacting me after years of no replies when I screamed out for help in securing Daniel's safety. My family was again completely in disarray and torn apart. Daniel started program Monday to Friday, and my daughter would pick us up every Friday to bring Daniel and I back to New Jersey for the weekend, where my husband and pets were. By now, I was no longer driving because of my state of mind I was in, with all the chaos going on in my life. The bus picking Daniel up was still not up to safety standards, so my Senator Vincent Gentile again wrote another letter to Executive Director Edward R. Matthews. After several months passed, I realized between the busing, the lawsuit, and the potential of retaliation from the agency, on my attorney's advice, I removed Daniel from his program for the second time with a very heavy heart. By now, my husband had moved into the apartment in Brooklyn and was going to his job by train, since he also was no longer driving. Although the state was paying the rent for the apartment, it was only going to continue while Daniel was going to program, or any program. I did try after I removed him a second time to attempt to try 2 more programs for my son in Brooklyn, but that was a total bust. The end of the group home and his 30-year program journey was now officially over. It was a time to bite the bullet and move on with life, that the agency had already robbed Daniel and my family of enough precious moments of our lives. It was 2000. Daniel was now back in New Jersey, where he joined a great program for the disabled called Friday Night Fun, run by a man named Pete Perot. Pete also worked as a New York City school teacher. As of this date, he is still active in the Friday night program. Pete hired many college students to care for the disabled, and they were all fantastic human beings and very caring, and Pete was a blessing to Daniel and my family. There was also a steady bus driver named Iris, who would drive Daniel every Friday night to his program safely, and he truly loved her, and she loved him. Iris worked for the township of Old Bridge and still does to this date. Life for Daniel and the family went back to somewhat normalcy in New Jersey, and we had some level of peace that we had not experienced in many years. My next video, number 15, will explain how my lawsuit continued against the UCP Now Adapt agency after Daniel left, and the pitfalls that came along involving my lawsuit. I will also explain how a woman named Vivian, who lived in the same residence as my son, rolled off her bus that she was on and died from her injuries in 2000. As always, I want to thank you for watching and listening to my videos. Please feel free to leave a comment or like. Be kind.